How exactly do you steal $182 million in a single second without leaving a single trace? Seriously, think about it. No ski masks, no getaway cars, just pure invisible code. Today, we're diving into one of the most brilliant and terrifying financial heists of our time. The digital heist, uncovering shadow governance in DeFi. Welcome to today's Explainer. I'm your host from EXMON, and today we're acting as on-chain detectives. Based on a deep dive in our article on the EXMON Academy blog, we're going to break down some incredibly complex concepts into plain English. We're going to figure out exactly why major protocols like Beanstalk Farms collapsed overnight, how zero-day attacks and shadow takeovers actually work behind the scenes, and most importantly, how we can protect the future of DeFi. So let's start with the basics of a takeover. If you wanted to maliciously hijack a decentralized platform, you might think, well, I'll just buy 51% of their tokens to control the vote. But actually, doing that in the real world is pretty much impossible. The sudden buying pressure would skyrocket the token price, making it way too expensive. So attackers found a massive loophole. It's called shadow governance. Instead of buying the tokens, they just secretly rent the voting power from people who already own them, using off-the-radar deals and dark pools. To understand how we got here, you have to look at how votes work. Originally, platforms wanted to reward long-term loyalty. So if you locked your money up in a vault for, say, 4 years, you were given voting power. But attackers realized they didn't need to lock up millions of their own dollars for years. Why do that when you can just slide a weekly royalty check, essentially a bribe, to the people who already have the votes? This loophole accidentally created a booming underground industry of voter bribery. Now, believe it or not, paying for votes isn't actually illegal in DeFi. On transparent, public platforms like Votium, it's totally out in the open. You can see exactly who is paying whom. But shadow governance? That is an entirely different beast. These deals happen completely in the dark. In these private, over-the-counter deals, massive institutional token holders, the whales, get paid off directly with stablecoins to suddenly shift their massive voting weight at the very last second. The community literally never sees it coming. Which brings us back to this mind-blowing number, $182 million. That is the exact amount wiped out of the Beanstalk Farms treasury back in April 2022. This wasn't some basic bug or coding error. This was a flawless execution of a shadow governance takeover, and it decimated the protocol in the literal blink of an eye. Here is exactly why the Beanstalk protocol collapsed. The attacker used something called a flash loan. Imagine borrowing $1 billion, but you only hold it for a fraction of a second. Because Beanstalk counted voting power based on the exact balance you held at that exact microsecond, with zero waiting period, the attacker instantly bought up 70% of the voting power. In that very same block of time, they voted to send the entire $182 million treasury to their own wallet, and then instantly paid back the $1 billion loan. By the time anyone realized a vote was even happening, the money was already gone. Another terrifying example of how zero-day attacks work in DeFi is the Tornado Cash hijack. The attacker proposed an update. The community reviewed the code, saw it was perfectly safe, and voted to approve it. But the attacker used what's known as a metamorphic contract. Think of it like a digital Trojan horse. Right before the code went live, they triggered a hidden self-destruct function that swapped the safe approved code for a malicious virus at the exact same address. They instantly gave themselves over 1 million fake votes, hijacked the protocol, and drained the funds. Hearing all this, you're probably thinking these attackers are completely invisible. But here's the beautiful thing about the blockchain. Absolutely nothing is invisible. Every single action leaves a mathematical footprint. In our article, our EXMON analysts detail exactly how we track these on-chain ghosts. By hunting for highly specific anomalies in the behavior of large whale wallets, we can actually spot a shadow takeover while it's being orchestrated in the dark. Just look at how distinct these fingerprints are. Unlike public bribes that are fully transparent, shadow governance payouts are actively hidden. The funding usually flows through crypto mixers like Tornado Cash or centralized exchanges to wipe the trail. And instead of slow, automated shifts in voting power, shadow governance relies on massive, aggressive transfers of votes just moments before a window closes. So, how do we catch them? Our EXMON backend engineers monitor 3 massive red flags. First, delegate tracking. If a massive whale suddenly transfers all their voting power to a brand new empty wallet right before a vote ends, that's incredibly suspicious. Second, flash mixer funding. If a voting wallet suddenly receives a huge, unexplainable deposit of stablecoins from an anonymous mixer, they were probably just bribed. And finally, MEV-driven voting, where attackers send private, hidden transactions straight to the block builders, sniping the final vote so nobody can react in time. And we don't just talk about this in theory. We use real custom tooling to track this stuff. In fact, if you want to see exactly how this works under the hood, we've published our custom Python script used to monitor these sudden voting shifts. You can view the full code for yourself right now in our article on the EXMON Academy blog. The Shield, protecting vulnerable DAO protocols from immediate shadow takeovers. So how do we actually stop this? Defending against these lightning-fast digital heists comes down to building better architecture. Remember how Beanstalk fell because everything happened instantly? The absolute best defense is a simple time lock. By enforcing a 48 to 72-hour waiting period before any code goes live, security teams have time to veto malicious updates. We also highly recommend optimistic governance, where things pass by default, but there is always a buffer window for the community to raise the alarm. And finally, dual token governance. This is brilliant because it means if the governance voters try something shady, the actual everyday users of the platform have the ultimate veto power to block the decision. I want to leave you with a quote from our analysis that really hits the nail on the head. Shadow governance is the natural result of voting rights becoming a financial asset. It's just human nature. The second you attach a dollar value to a vote, someone, somewhere, is going to try and buy it in the dark. We can't change human nature, but we can absolutely design smarter, more resilient systems that can withstand it. Decentralized finance is an incredible, wild frontier, but knowing how these hidden mechanics and security threats operate is what separates the true innovators from the victims. If you want to dive deeper and really master this space, you have to check out EXMON Academy. Over on the EXMON Academy blog, you can take our completely free courses on blockchain, cryptocurrencies, trading, and security. You'll even get a certificate when you finish. Head over to the link in the description, level up your knowledge for free, and stay safe out there.